This is an absolute heist for the T-Wolves, as Minnesota's been linked to multiple guard free agents over the course of this summer, and some have made sense in regards to fit on this roster, while others have certainly been more questionable in terms of how they'll fit in with this group. But all signs are starting to point to Malcolm Brogdon signing with Minnesota, according to recent reports, and this fit couldn't be more perfect, especially if he's able to stay healthy. So we're going to break down what's going on with all these reports, how Brogdon would be a really, really nice fit out here for this T-Wolves team, and frankly, how this can unlock the T-Wolves roster in ways a lot of people aren't really noticing. So lots of stuff to break down out here in this video. But before we do, folks, again, if you don't want to miss anything going on with this Minnesota Timberwolves team, especially with Summer League around the corner, everyone being excited to watch the new rooks come in and play, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, because right now, a lot of people tune into the videos, but over 99% of our viewers have not hit the subscribe button just yet. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with everything going on with this T-Wolves team and you're enjoying the latest content. It's free. Hit that button down below. But let's dive into the news, because Malcolm Brogdon's been a very, very intriguing piece over the course of this free agency. Keep an eye on, and the T-Wolves have now officially been linked in terms of their pursuit of bringing him in, as all these scenarios, furthermore, are sure to have an impact on Malcolm Brogdon, who league sources say the Wizards are open to a sign and trade discussions to facilitate Brogdon's exit from Washington, and a slew of teams have registered varying levels of interest in the 32-year-old. And that list includes the Clippers, the Lakers, as well as the Warriors and the Timberwolves. So the T-Wolves, again, are on a list for another guard free agent, another guard that could be, sign and trade, whatever the heck's going on with it. Brogdon is expected to be around the taxpayer mid-level exception, given his current injury history and stuff, and this could not be a better fit for this T-Wolves team. But, of course, multiple teams listed on here. Ben, why are we, looking at Malcolm Brogdon as a legitimate possibility? Is other teams interested? Well, there's been some other recent developments, which takes some of these other competitive teams out there off the board. So, first things first, we broke down Beal as another team the T-Wolves have registered interest in, and the Clippers are sliding in terms of being the favorites over the past 24 hours to land Bradley Beal after the Norman Powell trade and all the latest developments there. The T-Wolves are definitely still in the mix for Bradley Beal, and he's come out and said, right before recording actually, that he's going to officially make the buyout happen when he's decided upon a team. He's still mulling over his options, but right now, the Clippers are looking like more and more the favorites to land Beal, which I'm happy about because I'm more intrigued by Brogdon, but I digress. The Clippers, who are another team registered interest in Brogdon, are in the mix for Bradley Beal. And, of course, bringing in Bradley Beal will take you out of the mix for Malcolm Brogdon in terms of their signing. Chris Paul's also been linked to the Clippers, so there's a less likelihood that he goes to the LA Clippers right now with these latest reports. And then also the Golden State Warriors, who are also in the mix for Malcolm Brogdon. All signs are indicating that they are going to be bringing back DeAnthony Melton, who dealt with an injury all last year mostly, and is followed the Warriors back on Instagram and stuff. There's some interesting moving pieces going on with Melton, and they've emerged as the strong contender to bring him back. So, essentially that leaves the Lakers, the T-Wolves. The Suns have also been brought up in different reports and different mix. So the T-Wolves have a legitimate possibility of landing Malcolm Brogdon, and all signs with all the other latest developments around the league that this is getting more and more likely by the day. But how does he fit? How does this work? Because Brogdon's a guy that's dealt with some injuries and stuff. What are we really looking at as a basketball player for Malcolm Brogdon coming in? Well, first things first, taking a look at his stats last season. 13 points per game, 4 rebounds, 4 assists for the Washington Wizards. His three-point percentage wasn't great, but we've seen him be, 30, 40, 8. Like, he's had some great efficient shooting seasons in years past, so I'm not too worried about that. 28% out there from the three-point line right now. He's still only 32 years old, and a guy that can facilitate, that can play defense, that has been a lot of winning teams out there in the past. And more importantly, when you compare him to, the Bradley Beals of the world and stuff, Malcolm Brogdon can play point guard, which is crucial out here for this team that has a lot of guys, DiVincenzo and, TJ, all players that are very intriguing out there on the wing. You want a guy that's coming in that can at least, take some ball handling responsibilities, given some of the question marks given Mike Conley's age, who, again, the guy's been an Iron Man doing well, but also Rob Dillingham, whether or not he can take that leap. So he can play both guard positions, he can run that PG spot, and yes, there are certainly concerns about the guy's injury history, because, last season with Washington only played 24 games. Now, looking at this before I recorded, it felt like a lot of those may have been rest. You'd say, hey, he's cleared for action, he didn't play and stuff. The Wizards are trying to develop a young team out there. With the Portland Trailblazers, there's a lot more injury stuff actually going on, but still, he's not old and 37, 38. He's only 32 years old and has had a couple seasons where he hasn't had a ton of load and impact put onto him. So I think right now he's primed to, be in back into a role, back into a position where he can be an effective, rotation player for a team. And the T-Wolves have a lot of guys out there on their roster, so it's not, hey, you have to guaranteed be out there on the court 82 games. You're relying upon it. You have Mike Conley. You have all the, twos that are out there, the team that I just mentioned. Brogden could come in, ease his way back into rotation, play his way back to shape, which he also has this whole offseason to do, and it gives this team a lot of insurance because, again, Mike Conley, he is, a guy that has become underrated across the league, but is 37 years old, going to be 38 at a point next season. So last year, still 8 points per game, 2.6 rebounds, 4.5 assists, and played a ton. Played a ton of games out there for Minnesota's most recent season. Played 71 of games, started 64 of them. So Mike Conley is, I'm not saying he's going to be injured and stuff like that, but we've seen in previous seasons that he has dealt with some injuries and stuff in the back half of his career. So a guy that is 37, you want a bit more insurance on him as a player, especially if there are still question marks regarding Dillingham. I've been outspoken. I love to see Dillingham get some more run, get some extended minutes over the course of this next year. Last year, of course, 4.5 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists per night in very, very limited run, average like 10 minutes per game, and he's only 20 years old on a very, very competitive team. So there's all that, but of course he can burst onto the scene. But the T-Wolves as a squad that's looking to win a championship next year, you want to have a lot of insurance. You want to have a lot of backup options. You want to have players that are seasoned and have had some minutes, have played in a ton of competitive games over the course of their careers. You don't just want to, rely on a couple of rooks like TJ and Rob Dillingham. If we'll see if they develop or not with extended run. I am a full believer that both of them will, but having Brogdon that can kind of fill in minutes, if either of those guys, the lights are too bright early on in their career, Malcolm Brogdon can come and be that stabilizing force, that stabilizing presence for this team, especially at that taxpayer mid-level exception. That would be perfect for him coming in out there to this Wolves team that needs some, I don't want to say budget options, but needs some budget options after signing Julius Randle and Naz Reid to those extensions. Of course, you have big money out there in McDaniels, you have big money out there in Anthony Edwards. We'll see what happens with Dante DiVincenzo, but the Wolves right now need to really hit around the edges, especially after losing Na out there in free agency. Making these right moves, making these right deals is perfect, and now being linked to the Malcolm Brogdon, having him, bringing him in out there as a signing this offseason with other teams having their eyes elsewhere in terms of other moves, they can sneakily come in and slide in and make a very, very nice acquisition. So very, very exciting stuff for this T-Wolves team. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Do you want to see Brogdon signed by this Wolves roster? Let me know in the comments. But folks, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. I'll bring it up again because it's crazy. Over 99% of our viewers aren't subscribed here right now. So if you made it this far, 8 minutes in the video, and you haven't hit the sub button just yet, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button because we're going to be covering it all here on Twolves Digest. But anyways, you guys are the best. I'm signing out. Cheers.